Hey everyone, Christian Harris here with another episode of Christian's Conversations. Today, I'm excited to be joined by Matt Wolff. He is the founder of Ticket Time Machine, and he has a open work project out on LinkedIn that he currently has provided some assistance to people out there. So, Matt, excited to talk to you today and learn a little bit more about you. So nice to meet you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So Matt, the reason I was brought to you is as we talked a little bit is I interviewed Bryce DeArmond the other day, and he mentioned you and said you'd be a great person to talk to. And after reading some of your posts, I said, hey, let's talk to that. So if you could provide me a little bit more background into your work history and kind of how you went about starting the Open to Work project.
Yeah, so my work history is I had been unemployed for long stretches a few times in over the 25 years since I've graduated, and it was a different world back then. There was no internet. There wasn't a lot of people helping. I just actually had a memory on Facebook where I posted I was looking, and I think I had three people like it and one person commented on it, which is, I mean, that's supposed to be my friends and the people on. And so you didn't get a whole lot of help from a lot of people back in the day, and it wasn't as easy to search for jobs. But I'm just seeing everyone else post on LinkedIn about jobs. I mean, there's people who post every week a list of jobs, and there was people who were highlighting people who were out of work and open to work. So I just thought, let me do something that to me it was like an easy lift. I could do it. I did a post. I did a collage of about 20 pictures of the people, and I tagged them on there and said, hey, these are good candidates open to work, just to see if we can get some visibility. And it kind of blew up. I was getting like 5,000 reactions, or 300 shares of a post. I mean, much better than any content I've ever put out. And so the next week I did some more. It's funny because maybe it's something with the algorithm, but it kept getting less and less. But I kept getting a ridiculous amount of requests, people sending me messages, hey, I want to be on your list, I want to be on your list. And I had a colleague of mine, Barry Kleiman, reached out and said, hey, how can I help? And I said, look, I have so many people who are asking me, can you post some of these? So he posted some of these. And I said, well, what can we do that might be able to get everything sort of central to this? Now, I want to have like a database of all these candidates. I started that to do that, but it's very extremely time consuming. So to start, I said, let's start an open to work group where we can get people who are looking to join this group. And hopefully we can get people who are hiring to join this group to see, so they can just really narrow down who's looking for work. You see this stuff on your feed all the time, but to be able to go to one spot where there's all these great candidates who are looking, and they can post what they're looking for, and they can sort of help each other and be, sort of grow a community. That's where it all came from, and we're just going to try and figure out how we can make it more successful and more helpful. But in the meantime, I think we have 300 plus members who are gone. So encourage people to go to that group if you're hiring, or if you're wanting to help others and connect with them and share what they're looking for.
How long has that group been about? Like, how long have you
It's
been
been a
doing it?
week. I think we
Oh, it's
started a
really
week.
only been a
Yeah,
week?
yeah. I started posting and tagging people about a month ago,
Okay.
and we started the group about a week ago. So it's fairly new, but people are joining, and I'm inviting people whenever I see them with an open to work. Kind of just it's the philosophy of, don't just scroll past someone. I do that all the time. I used to hate clicking on things because it would, like, I didn't want it to consume my feed. I wanted people to see what I did, not just me liking other stuff. LinkedIn has actually done a good job of splitting that out. So you could see my posts if you want to go see my post, but you could see my reaction. So what I do is anytime I see someone who's open to work, I hit a support. And anyone who's posting jobs, I hit support. So I can just tell someone, hey, go to my feed, click on the reactions, and you'll see a whole host of people who are posting jobs, who are looking for work themselves. And that just makes it an easier way to identify these people and for them to get more visibility. And it's just, we shouldn't be scrolling past people who are asking for help, or who are others who are helping. I think it's so easy to just click a button, and you just never know who that's going to see. It only takes one person or opportunity to find a job, and it's extremely difficult. It's very competitive, but to see all these other people who are spending a lot more time, would it seem, to put together this help, I thought it would, it's the least that I can do.
Nice. Yeah, and you're absolutely right. I know once you kind of, like you said, go down a feed, then all of a sudden, like I think every time I log in, it's probably the same 4 or 5 people, which is great that they're providing these services like, hey, here's open jobs here. If you're looking for remote jobs, tech jobs is this. So it's nice to have a spot where a person can go to that's really looking for, a specific job, or to be able to have a group. And I think that's key for everyone. It's that human involvement. Like you said, scrolling past stuff. It's easy to scroll past stuff all the time. But, what I've been hearing from the people I've been talking to is, they may like something or just make one little comment, and they're getting feedback from that person going, hey, I appreciate you taking the time to, say something about my post. And that's kind of what I'm hoping that maybe your group will do, or something like this will do, is make people realize, hey, people are out there. They want to help. They just need a platform and take a chance. Like, I mean, this is something you decide to do on your own. This isn't something.
Yeah, there's no reason for it other than to just try and help people and get people more visibility, because your conversations with these people are extremely helpful too, because someone hears someone, they see a name, they'll hear a location, they'll see a location, they'll see, hey, this is what I'm looking for. And I do this all the time. I did it today. You see a job that's posted and you're like, this person came to your mind, and you either tag them or you send it to them. I don't know how successful that's going to be, but it gets people's name out there. So now someone else might have seen this person's name tagged for this location or this type of job, and they might think of them the next time they see something like that. So it's just real easy to do. I don't think it's just clicking a button, and it's something that we should do more of. The stuff that people click on and comment on, and such generic comments, the amount of time that you take to do that, just to put like congrats or thank you or hey, this is great, you can click and help a ton of people who are looking for work. And again, you just never know when that one click is going to turn into a job for someone.
No. Oh, people blew, and this became word of mouth, right? Like, so you started this, you said, about a week ago, and all of a sudden you just get the reactions and people wanting to be a part of that group. How did you and your, you said
Barry.
Barry? How did you and Barry decide to put together, like, say, the platform, or however you want to do the group
Yeah,
program?
we're just trying to figure out. Look, we have these posts and they're great, right? So you have it. It says open to work. It's tagged. It's hashtag. People see it. It comes across. Other people are liking it, but it's still. And even if I'm putting a name and a location, it's still hard to just go to have one place where you can find all these people. I think eventually we're going to try and have a database like a Google Doc where it's searchable. So if I want to search candidates in Texas, I filter Texas, and now I got all these people in Texas. If I want to search for someone who's doing social media, I can do that, and actually help me. I've started a mini list of this. We're not ready to like put it out there or anything, but someone was asking for social media, and I did a click on my filter social media and had a couple names for this person. Again, you just don't know if that's going to be the right person or not, but it's an easier way to help people. And I think that's what we're trying to do. That's why we put the group together, is to get it all centralized and make it easier for other people to help and share and connect and see jobs and be seen. That's really what it's all about. It's just trying to make it easier.
Talking to or seeing people, all these different people's posts, what like advice do you have for people that are going through this job search? Because some of us have, and I say I just recently started. I left for Verizon in September. Didn't really start looking right away, so I'm new. So when I say new, it's been 4 months, and I've started looking. Try not to spend 24/7. Like, what's your advice for people that have been doing this for either new to it or been doing it for a long time?
Yeah, there's a few things that I think that everyone should do, especially if we're talking about it on LinkedIn, but really in any platform or any type of voice that you have, is to let people know you're looking. Right? People need to know that you're looking, and they'll if they don't know you're looking, there might be opportunities that could be great for you that they might share with you, but they don't know that you're looking. And that's why I think the open to work banner is good. There's a lot of conversation about whether or not that seems desperate or not. I think that's crazy to me. Why you wouldn't be advertising that you're looking for a job if you are. But I think so letting people know that you're looking. And then I think the other important thing is to really target on what you're looking for. And when you talk to people, a lot of times they want to be very vague because they don't want to like exclude anything. But I think it's good to be vague a little bit, but then it's really good to be targeted, because that helps me be able to help you a little bit more. If you just say marketing, I mean, I see thousands of marketing jobs everywhere, but if you say marketing for a sports and entertainment company, and this type of marketing, maybe it's event marketing or whatever that might be, the more detail you can give, the easier it will be for people to help. And then for also for people to see that you might be a good fit, because I can't, these people who are searching for jobs or looking to hire, I mean, they're getting hit with thousands of them. So the more keywords that you can have in your profile and actually sort of target what you're trying to do, and that could be a job, maybe even target an industry, maybe even target a company. Hey, I want to work for Nike. Let everyone know, hey, I want to work for Nike. And then also maybe connect with some people at that company or that have the same job title that you have, and sort of look through job descriptions. And I think that'll help you narrow down your search if you're filtering with keywords that are relevant to you and helping other people know what those keywords might be.
It's interesting that you mentioned the open to work because I think you're right. You have to let people know you're looking. There's no shame in that. Like, hey, I'm looking for a job, whether it be by choice or, for whatever the reason may be. But, when I started the process working with the company, they said, hey, take off your open to work, after a few weeks. So it like refreshes in the system, because there's different algorithms.
That sounds
You
like
know,
probably good advice.
yeah, I mean, but I also think then people, it's like anything else, it's timing. So if I take it down, but somebody's looking for it and they don't see it, they don't know. It's kind of it's a risky move, I think. I mean, right now, I don't think I have mine up. I've took it down because, that's what they told me to do.
So the other thing that I would recommend is, if you don't have the open to work, or even if you do, is to have your tagline be very clear that you're looking for work or what you're looking for. Because every time someone sees you post, all they see is this little tagline, and it's character limited. So you have to just sort of see how much they'll let you do. It's sort of just it's a tagline. It's something that's going to promote yourself, and that's going to try and bring people in and make them be intrigued by who you are. So it could be, looking for my next gig, or looking for opportunities in sales, whatever it is that's going to make someone look at your picture and really have a good understanding of what you're looking for. Because in a sea of profiles and a feed, and it goes fast, and you have to try and stand out, or at least really be clear. So again, it's all about being clear and being targeted to help others, people help you. I think it'll help you also, but I think it's all also about helping others help you. I think, they say that's really how most people get their jobs, is they're referred by others. It's someone in their network, not necessarily just seeing an online job posting. And I've been lucky, actually. The two best jobs I ever had, I found online, but they say that's maybe 10% of the people who are going to get a job. So
Yeah, I was gonna say, would you think you could do that? Like you said, it's changed over time from no internet back in the day, and do you think you could do that in today's world? It would
it's
be harder.
it's competitive. I also, some of, like, the one of them was an entry level sales. I had never done sales before, so those are a little bit easier to get. And I just kind of lucked out with the company they got, because there's a lot of entry level sales jobs that are just not worth even looking at. And then my resume is better today than it was. It was pretty poor for a while, and so that also makes it tough. I just didn't have any great work experience from a company perspective. I mean, I could sell myself and I could talk about the skills I had, but it's really, you have to get to that point where you can sell someone other than just having a resume and what people see on paper, that has to get them interested in wanting to get you to that next step. So it's different, but there's still opportunity. I would say comb online every day and look for the jobs. Again, look for the people who are hiring, identify a company, because eventually they might be hiring, or they might be looking for something, and it might not be posted yet.
Do you think there's like tips and tricks? So I know the one thing, like, you find a company, you mentioned Nike. So like if somebody wants to connect with some, it's hard to get to talk to somebody from Nike if you don't know any tips and tricks that you could think of, like how to connect to people you don't know. Obviously, using your network's key. Like if I know, if I see, hey, Matt knows somebody that does work in Nike, like, hey, Matt, can you make the introduction? That's, I won't say
Yeah,
easy, but easier.
that's tricky, because I have so many connections that you can name these people. I don't really know
Yeah.
any idea who they are. So I think it's got to be a little bit careful about who you're name dropping, or you can come to me and say, look, do you know this person? I say, I don't really know them. So I don't know that me giving an introduction would be any help. But if you were just honest about what you're looking to do, say, look, I'm looking for work. Love to work for a place like Nike. You want to connect with people who've worked there, and maybe connect with people who worked there in the past. They're not there now. They might be able to give you a little bit of insight as to, who you can talk to, or they might introduce, who you should talk to. It's this person, and just say, I want to be connected, and I know people hate when you say pick your brain. You know, I know they hate that. I don't know. I consider myself not the normal person. I don't get upset by that. I don't need to charge you to have a conversation with me. I'm not charging any. Like I had someone on my post be like, "How much does it cost?" And I'm like, "How much does it cost to do what? It doesn't cost anything. You just post, tag, like, support, whatever." So you know, I just ask. I think you just have to ask. The work. I'm in sales, and I get no's all the time, and I get ghosted all the time. That's just in your job search. I would just start connecting and messaging until LinkedIn tells you you've done enough for the week. And they will eventually tell you that.
Yeah. No, and you're right, especially in sales, you like no, you hear no more than you hear anything else. So, you can't have a thin skin in regards to that. And same thing with the job search. If we gave up after the first three or four no responses or no's, then we'd be done.
You're selling yourself, right? I mean, that's what you're doing. You're selling yourself, and you know that you have the most knowledge about what you can and can't do and what you're good at. So you need to share that with other people, and you need to use that to your advantage. So I think just asking, and worst case, someone says no, they don't reply to you, they connect with you, but they don't answer you. But now you're connected to them. That's useful. Again, like you said, someone said, "Hey, this guy's connected with 6 people in my company." I'll connect with them and they might not respond to you, but the more you get that type of network, with who you want to be a part of it, whatever type of company or industry, maybe it's sports, and people start to see that. It's also posting content, post about what you're looking for. I said, let people know, but just post about who you are, post about something you did, comment on people, engage with people's stuff. And I don't mean just saying congratulations or this is great, something that means something where people will see that you're adding value to the conversation instead of just 75 comments that say congrats. I mean, there's a button for that. You don't really need to write that. But I know the algorithm, there's probably people think it's more effective if I write congrats than if I hit the congrats button. So
Notice I read your post on obviously from a few years back when you went to Paris. So like that kind of post, that's personal. You're sharing information to people, people gave you nice feedback on even something like that, which that must have been a great trip, obviously.
yeah, that was the last summer, the Olympics. I think you see sometimes people say this isn't Facebook, and I think there's probably some things that you shouldn't share on LinkedIn, let's say. But I think overall, the experiences that you have in life, I'm in the event world, so anytime I talk about events, it's relevant. Anytime I post, so I think sharing a little bit about who you are, also, being vulnerable and open and giving more information about who you are outside of what maybe you can offer from a jobs perspective, I think is people will see that and say, you know what, this is the type of person that I want in my network, or this is the type of person that I would want to work with or work for. So I think share content, post, engage, all of those. You got to get out of your comfort zone a little bit.
How did you get in the events industry? Like, how did that come about for you over time?
Yeah, so my first sales job that I mentioned I got, I think it was off monster.com, was for a ticket printing company called Worldwide Ticket Crap. And so because we were selling tickets, season tickets and individual tickets like the box office tickets, like stuff like this that you used to get if when you go to an event, I was dealing a lot with sports and entertainment and colleges, and I love that stuff. I've always have loved that stuff. So when you're selling something that you're passionate about, or in the environment that you're passionate about, it makes it a lot easier to sell and to want to come to work every day. I eventually left that job and actually left that industry altogether, but came up with an idea at a Marlins game when Edinson Volquez threw a no-hitter. Just as everything was moving to digital, they asked over the loudspeaker if you wanted a ticket from the game. And it didn't even occur to me, even though and I went to the box office and got a ticket, but I wanted them to write Edinson Volquez no-hitter, but they said they couldn't, and I know that they can. And so I started the idea. I said, I'm going to print tickets for people because they're not getting them anymore. And it's since evolved. Most of what we do is events. We're printing commemorative products for events and name badges and stuff for events, sort of keepsakes, collectibles, memorabilia, however you want to say it. And then we evolved into stuff like this, which is animated. This is something we did for the first ever game for the Utah Hockey Club, and then VIP type badges for Morgan Wallen type concert and stuff for the Panthers hockey. So it's evolved into a much bigger thing, lanyards and magnets as well. Anything that we do here can be a magnet. So just it's evolved in that, but it's mostly events, which I mean, it's my favorite thing to do is events, sports events and music events and weddings. We've done stuff for weddings and bar mitzvahs, anything that people want to commemorate.
And I can imagine that, like you said, especially for someone that's been to probably 100 concerts and different events throughout my lifetime, when I was younger, that was key. Like I'd either get a shirt, well, I still probably got a shirt, and then I'd have my ticket stub. I still have like a book full of them from when I was a kid. But like nowadays, we go to events, big games, and you don't have a ticket because everything's digital, so it does miss that kind of special.
That's sort of what we do. So, and wanting to be able to customize it. So there's a couple of theories on people the way they collect, and then some people they want to have something like this where it sort of commemorates and gives some information. So I write Blackhawks win.
Oh yeah.
It can be customized and personalized, and that's something that people ask for. I get requests all the time, or something like this where it says, Gary and Aaron got engaged.
Oh,
So we can
cool.
customize and personalize, or you could print something up that just shows that it was an event, something that people can keep, like you said, throw in a book, or you can put it into a bigger project. I have the same thought process as you. You mentioned having shirts, concerts, and game matches. How many shirts can you have that you're actually going to wear? And I used to collect some shirts, and I have some shirts. And then I also have posters of stuff, events that I did in festivals and that. But now, how many posters can you sort of display? I have them all. And to me, these are like mini posters that you can have a ton of them, and they're very easy to collect and put together and display. So I think that's sort of the idea of what we're looking to do and keeping the printed memory alive. That's what we say.
What's your favorite event you've ever been to? I'm going to presume you've been to probably
Oh
more than you can
man,
name.
that's a tough one. It could be maybe the national championship when I saw the Gators play in Atlanta. That might be. I'm lucky enough to see the Gators win a football championship too when they beat Oklahoma. My favorite non-championship game might be the no hitter. I mean, to be in the stadium with a no hitter, it's just crazy. The tension and how nervous you get for the pitcher and how excited you get because you want to see that happen. I mean, and now it's a way more common, but still, that was the only time I ever saw a no hitter. And you can't talk about the no hitter while the no
Yes.
hitter's going. I was able to see the World Baseball Classic where the final championship game where Otani played pitched against Trout and struck him out to win the championship. I've been to so many games. Green Day was my favorite concert I've ever been to. I was on the floor. The atmosphere was electric. I still have the ticket from that show. And there's a ton of events I can't find the tickets, or I don't even know what I did with the tickets that I wish I did have.
Interesting. Well, yeah, it sounds like yeah, too many to name, but and the nice thing is it's different. Like it's sports is one thing. I'm a huge concert person too. If I had to choose, it would probably be tough between sports and concerts because I've been to some big ones myself. So I noticed maybe you stopped doing it. So you used to have a thing called the Wolf Den. Is that something you still proactively do?
Yeah, I started the Wolf Den because people said you got to post video content on LinkedIn. And in order to do that, you actually needed to use a platform to do it. And so someone showed it to me, and we're doing it through StreamYard. And I was like, well, I don't want to just go on LinkedIn and talk to myself. I don't think anyone wants to hear that. So I just started bringing people on and talking to them. And once a week led to twice a week to 3 times a week. Next thing you know, I'm doing it 3 or 4 times a week. Got myself all the way up to 300 plus episodes, and I'm still doing it. I do it very less, maybe once or twice a month. I haven't found a way to monetize it. I'd love to find a way. I have great content. I'd love to find a better way to share it, but I think it's going to cost some money and some time, which I have better suited for other things that I'm doing right now. But I got 300 plus episodes. Great content. John O'Leary, who's maybe the best motivational speaker I ever had. Check him out. It's called John O'Leary Motivates. He was an incredible episode sharing his story. We had Wayne Hoffman, who's a mentalist who did tricks that'll blow your mind. I had Danny Werfel, Florida Gator grade. I had Bob Ryan of the Boston Globe come on. Justin Guarini, who was the first guy on American Idol. So I've had some pretty cool people. And then just people you never heard of who have incredible stories and have great conversation about whatever topic it might be. The Wolf Den's really about the guest. There's no set topic. It's just about whatever they are doing, whatever they've done, whatever they're passionate about. Obviously, I'm in the sports and entertainment and world, so I gravitate towards some of those people. But we've had doctors and writers and lawyers and Olympians and musicians, just such a wide range of people on the show, and it's fun. I mean, you could see it's just great to just talk to people, and it's fun. You just don't feel like you don't. It's I don't. It's just a conversation. It's a casual conversation. There's no. It's unscripted. It's unedited. So you just never know where it's going to go, and that sort of opens it up for some gaffes and some brain freezes and silence and awkward moments. But it's been fun. I'll continue to do it. Truthfully, I would love to have higher profile people on. I think that I can have as compelling content as some of the people who have the most popular podcasts out there. They have access to that, to money to build it, and access to the people who are happy to come on there. But I think if you threw any of these famous people on my show, I could give just as compelling content and a great conversation.
Oh yeah, I mean, to do that, I mean, I've only done a few, but to do like 300, let alone 3 to 4 times a week. I mean, I'm sure you'd started the same way. I'm doing it all myself. Like, I'm like, hey, this is a great idea. It'd be a great project for 2025. My goal is to do like one a week.
One a
This is
week is
easy.
good. One a week is plenty.
Yeah, this is easy right here. It's the afterwards. Like, okay, now let's try to edit it where it looks decent.
Yeah, you know what? I don't edit mine. Mine actually goes live. It's live and unedited.
Oh, okay.
And StreamYard automatically posts it to YouTube. It archives great. It goes live on Facebook and LinkedIn. I think to me, it's just, I don't know what the editing piece of it, I think, is important if you're going to take clips from it and then just share those clips and use that as content. Overall, I don't really think anyone cares whether or not you edit this conversation that you and I are having.
Yeah.
So that's where I think the editing piece comes into play. If you're going to edit it and give little clips, those clips could be great. You go back and watch and you'll see. I mean, when I first started to clip, I had someone clip. I went back to the one, John O'Leary, and I'm writing down all this great stuff. I'm telling you, I had like 4 pages of notes from this one episode on stuff I wanted to clip and share. So, if you're going to clip, I think it's worth it. If not, I don't know that you need to spend too much time editing. I wouldn't worry about that. There's some crazy number about the percentage of people who ever get past 4 or 5 episodes. So my advice would be to just keep going. I don't worry about how many people are watching it or listening to it. I have 300 episodes and I don't have a ton of followers on mine and I don't have a ton of viewers on it. Some have a couple hundred depending, but you just never know. Again, you never know who's going to be watching, where it could help them, it could help you. They might tell someone else. I mean, it's just, I think doing it for the right reasons and everything else will work out.
Yeah. Oh, I appreciate that. Yeah, the clips are the ones I share on LinkedIn, and then I just purely put the full versions on like Spotify and YouTube because most people are going to want to see the highlights. And there are people that are really going through like the first, I've had one where the person's proactively looking for a job and we covered some topics and they're like, well, I'm not sure if I want that out. And obviously I got to respect that. But
Yeah,
I don't think it was anything that was like mind blowing, but they're like, hey, I don't know if I'm like, okay, that's fine.
I don't have the editing software, and I had someone do that. And I said, "Look, I can not post it, but I can't edit that part out." And it wasn't a big deal. And people might not want that out, but there's a lot of good software out there, and some of it's not that expensive. Where it will tell you, it'll like check, give you a table of contents, and it'll give
Yeah.
you the words and all that. So I think there is stuff that you can do to make it more appealing to people. At the end of the day, I really don't know what people want to listen to. Like I've listened to some of the best podcasts out there. I don't know. I think they're okay. I listen to them. It's a lot of times. I just, it depends on who the guest is for some people, and then what the topic is. Some people just care more about certain topics than others.
Yeah, I think like anything, there has to be interest. Once especially with so many people doing them, if they're all the same, it's like when the guys do with the press junkets. I mean, if when they do the press junkets, they're asked the same 5 questions everywhere they go, and then it just becomes repetitive, and they're not interested. And if the person talking is not interested, then no one listening is going to be interested in it either.
Yeah, I try and do like I do a little bit of media work where I get to report. I've been lucky to go to the last two Super Bowls and be a part of the opening night where you get to talk to the athletes and you walk around and ask some questions that no one cares about necessarily, but they're interesting or entertaining, and some are stupid. You bomb on a couple of them, but sometimes you hit. And I had one, I think I asked Mahomes or maybe it was Barkley, and I think it had like 50,000 views or something like
Oh
that, or
wow.
on some kind of crazy amount of views with nothing, and it just kept going and going. So you just never know. And then actually, people, I think what happened was people were sort of fighting in the comments. So if you start talking about something that's relevant or sort of a hot button topic, especially online, it can sort of take off because the people are passionate about. And every time they're looking at this to comment, that counts as a view. So, I think I like to talk about things that other people don't talk about. And it's okay if you don't want to watch it, you don't want to. That's the great thing about the internet and all these shows and stuff. It's just so easy to click on and off. You don't want to watch it, don't watch it. But if you do, great.
Yeah, and with sports especially, like you said, that's how people are passionate around their sports and various things like that, and that's where the comments are always the interesting part because you could have a simple question that somebody loved, and then especially when it comes to different teams, like, oh, that can this way and that way. So yeah, it's those are always interesting to read the posts.
What do you got behind you? I'm a big memorabilia guy. I see some type of Disney. What does that represent?
So this is, well, when the kids were small, this is what we used to call the Mickey room. So
I like it.
there's all kinds of Disney. My mom worked for Disney for 20 plus years, so I have tons of Disney memorabilia in the house. So virtually everything in this room. The only thing that's not Disney related, and you can't really see because on the wall over here, I have an autographed South Park poster autographed by Trey and Matt
Wow, that's pretty cool.
in there. That's pretty
Where'd you
cool.
get that?
Through through basically they gifted it to Disney, and my mom worked she was in charge of the library, so
Oh,
I
there you
have all kinds of
go. My
stuff that
my wife is obsessed with Disney. We're season pass holders. We're going next week, and I actually did the 4 park challenge. I did all 4 parks in one day. Just did a couple of rides on each. It was fun. I went by myself. I went on the best rides there. A couple in each park, and then went home.
we've been to. So we went to Japan 2 years ago or 3 years ago. We went to Disney in Japan, then we went to Paris. So I'm not a huge I mean, I've been there more times than I can count, but my wife is and my kids are. So we've been to every Disneyland we've been to, if it's in various countries. So Florida, not a different country, but different state, and the
I've never
likes.
been to any other one. Which one would you say is outside of Florida is the best?
Well, I'd say Anaheim's better than Florida, but that's just preference. No,
I
um,
mean, for me, for someone who's
no,
only
I
been to
know.
Florida.
Japan was interesting. It's insane. People, I mean, Disney people are freaks. The out there. So in Japan, they have different flavored popcorns, and there'd be an hour and a half line for certain popcorns. It was insane. People would wait that long
There's
for
a
a
line
popcorn,
for the bucket, the popcorn bucket, or
just a bucket
the
because they're a special
souvenir cup.
bucket.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
crazy.
and you could resell them. I think we brought them back from Japan. I didn't put them up for eBay yet, but no, it's insane. They had some really good. For us, it's like anything, different rides. You're looking for the different rides,
Yeah,
stuff
I'm
you
a
can't
coaster
get.
guy, so for me, some you have a couple good rides in each park, but I'd rather go to Cedar Bay, Cedar Point. Where's the one in Ohio? To me, that was like the best Cedar.
Cedar, oh God, they own Knott's Berry Farm now. Cedar.
Yeah, so that was the best roller amusement park I've ever been to. But even the Six Flags in Texas had, 5 or 6 really good ones, and Universal has 5 or 6 good ones. I think SeaWorld even now has a ton of good coasters. So I like the coaster, but the nostalgia of Disney, it's fun.
Yeah,
I live
Disney's not a
close.
big ride. Like, yeah, if you like rides out here, it's not where you go. You'd go to Six Flags. We go to Six. I mean, that they have the best rides out here.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, Disney's Disney. I mean, you can't go wrong, especially if you have kid, like little kids when they're little. That was probably our favorite trip when they were little was we went to Disney World. We spent like a week there during Christmas.
We've been
It
trying
was
to talk. I can't get in touch with the right people at Disney, but I think there's some really cool stuff that we can do for the Disney. Actually, I wanted to do that next time. I don't know if I have time. There's some cool stuff that we can do for, above and beyond what they offer. Even just my first visit, like instead of a pin, maybe getting something like this, that would cost just as much as a pin, if not less than whatever
Yeah.
pins they're doing. And I think people would rather have something like this than a pin. Pin is cool, but then afterwards, I don't know. I just there's a lot we can do. So I'm hopefully it's such a huge organization, just no idea who you would even want to talk to. I've tried to give stuff to the people that I'm there. It hasn't worked. I've looked on LinkedIn. I've connected with some, but not. It's really hard. That's one of the biggest problems. It's just so hard to find out who the right person is when you get to these big organizations.
Yeah, because when my mom worked there, she's passed, but everything was based out of Anaheim for longest, and then like everything moved to Florida. So the main library that she was in charge of moved to Florida towards the end of her career there. But yeah, like you said, I can only imagine the memorabilia that they already have and what you could add to it with what you're doing would be phenomenal.
What I don't think you mentioned what type of work are you looking for? You said eventually you're going to be looking.
I've been in telecommunications technology for since I graduated college, so I worked for both of the big blue and the red companies. So that's probably where I'll end up being. It's like everything else. It's what I've done. I apply for things outside of what I've done in the past, I think people look at that going, "Hey, he's only done. I can do technical sales." This and that, and they look at it, and the problem is if you can't talk to people now, I can't really show them other capabilities I
Yeah.
have. You can only look at a resume.
I think from a job perspective, there's just very few jobs that require someone who's only done that.
Yeah.
Certainly, if there's two people involved and one person has done this and the other person hasn't, I probably give that person who's done it a leg up. But what's the learning curve on some of this? It's not rocket science. A lot of the stuff that people are doing, even the stuff that I'm doing today, it's not rocket science. So, I think people just need to be more open minded, and then that's just the luck of the draw on who's the one looking and hiring. It could be very lucky because that person's open minded or not. Same the way people they used to look at gaps, like who cares why they had a gap in their resume, right? That's another hot. It doesn't matter. It's really none of your business. I know people who had to take care of their parents. I know people who got sick. I know people who went through depression and whatever that may be. It doesn't take away from anything. I mean, you could have someone who's never had a gap on their resume. Doesn't mean they didn't have a gap. Actually, they had a gap, but they filled it, or who knows why. Who could cause way more problems than anything like that. So I think I don't know. A lot of this is just going to be the luck of the draw. But what do they say about luck? Is like when luck meets opportunity, or luck is when something meets opportunity. So in order to get lucky, you sort of have to be in it to win it. I think sometimes you can get really lucky when it's just something falls in your lap, but you have to be in the game, so to speak.
Well, and what they say, you make your own luck in a sense. A lot of it's timing. Like you said, the gap. First thing, when you leave a job for whatever reason, it's always, well, don't take too much time off. You don't want, because people, it's like, well, you should, especially if you worked a long time, you should be able to kind of enjoy it for a bit. I mean, when you're a kid, you don't realize that. My oldest is 24 and she's getting ready to start, like, being a teacher and all that. And she's coming home, being tired every day. And teaching is a whole different thing. Like that would drain you. And it's like, hey, you got 30 years of
Yeah,
that.
there's no summer breaks for us
Yeah.
adults
Yeah.
who
For
are
the rest of us,
on vacation.
so, you should be able to, you
Yeah.
shouldn't have to worry about those things, but you do.
We had a guy worked with very successful, wins awards, was top of his game, and he got burnt out. He said, "You know what? I'm going to take off a year and travel." Young, unattached, did it. Came back. Actually, came back to the same company, but he didn't have to. He would have found a job somewhere else.
Yeah. And I think you're better off doing that. During this time, it's made me look at other things. I've decided to do this. This was I won't say a jump per se, because I do talk, my job, I had to talk to customers every day. But to reach out, like, I didn't know you before reaching out. Luckily, maybe me throwing out Bryce's name helped. But like having to basically email, it's like a job. I'm emailing people going, "Hey, here, this is me. Would you like to do this?" And there's no reason for you to do this or somebody else, but they're taking a chance on, hey, let's talk to somebody, share their experiences, and go from there and see what happens. Nothing
Yeah,
bad's going
I
to
got some
happen.
people who are looking who would probably be happy to talk to you, so I can refer you to some people. I don't think First of all, you should definitely join our Open to Work group
I will.
because certainly you can post whatever you want if you want people to look at your podcast. I just don't want you to get 100 people asking you to be on it, and you know, there's always bias and there's always something. You're going to look at a list of people and be like, some of these people are maybe not as worth my time as it is others. That's just the reality of it. You can say it's not going to happen, so I don't want you, getting all these requests from people that you might not want to have. I think in some respects you do want to be, again, targeted with who you have on your show. I do that as well. I don't think I've ever posted, "Hey, I got a podcast. Who wants on?" And I still get people coming to me to ask, say I'd love to be on, just because they've seen it, as opposed to just saying, "Hey, I'm looking for guests." You can definitely outreach and get enough guests for what you're doing.
Yeah, and I
People like to talk. They like to talk about themselves. I'm happy to talk about myself, but I'm also really happy to talk about whatever topic that might be, like events and memorabilia and Disney and music and food. And I mean, I have so many interests that I'd love to talk about. It's just people want to do it. So I think you won't have a problem finding it, especially you're doing it once a week. And then as you start to get booked, now the challenge was, hey, I want to have you on, but I'm not available for 2 months. And I think that's what got me to doing multiple a week. Be like, I don't want to go to someone and say, hey, yeah, come on 2 months from now. So I was like, oh, I fit them in here and fit them in here. And next thing you know, you're doing 2 or 3 a week. And
yeah. I have two. I have you, and I have another Matt booked on Friday, and then
Taylor,
Matt. What is his last name? It was another referral from Bryce. Let me see. What is Matt Taylor?
that's who I was going to tell you. Matt will be a great guest. He's got a lot of good stories. He'll share the ups and downs of his job search, which is, I mean, we have people, and he's in my close network. He's actually the person who I tag and send jobs to all the time. He's in marketing and sales and business development. He's got a great story, and he's I think he'd be a great addition to anyone who's hiring. And the people in my circle were all asking each other, like, how is this guy not hired yet? It's crazy because I think he's got such a great resume, and he'll talk about the content he's done, really getting out of there and just trying to make himself visible and stand out. But that'll be a great, fun conversation. He was the first person I had in mind when I was thinking of people who are looking to send you to. So,
Okay, I'm looking forward to. Yeah, and I'm trying to. A lot of the people I've talked to have been around technology because that's the background in my network. So I'm trying to proactively looking for other people that outside that just to get the experience to talk to people in different industries because, for myself too, because I think that'll be beneficial. The one person I'm trying to get on, and he just actually replied right before this, is the gentleman that's put out like the $10,000 bounty looking for a
yeah,
job.
that's
So
genius to me. I've reshared it.
yeah. So I'm interested. I think his name is Nick. Yeah, Nick. So I'm going to set that up probably for next week because I
Yeah,
want to hear how that's going.
that'll be a great story. I mean, you probably get a lot of attention. It's almost like a murder investigation. You're going to get thousands and thousands of leads that, most of them are garbage, but you gotta comb through them. So sometimes all this stuff brings on more work than you would like it to. And some of it, and honestly, some of it, I feel that way with the open to work, but I did it. I committed to it, and I'm going to see it through, and as long as I can, and help people. And I think try and find ways to make it easier to get people's names out there and tagged and in a group. I think the group we have is a good start. There's more stuff we can do. We can get a list, a searchable database. Someone, I forget who did it, as a searchable database of actual job offers. That one's a little easier. You just got to click on a link and put it there. You got to take a link, you got to get their name, put it in there, find out where they are, put it in there, find out what they're looking for, put it in there. And it's not always so easy. I think so. When I say help other people, like, make it real easy. The way your profile should read is, if I'm trying to add you to my list, it takes me 3 seconds to find out what you're looking for.
Well, I think the great thing as you build your list, you'll probably have somebody that can help build that database to make it easy for you so you're not trying to figure it out. So,
Probably some kind of AI thing. You just put all these links and it'll spread it out. I don't know. I think there probably is. I don't know.
Chat
Scary that
GPT
would
it.
be, but could be
Yeah.
helpful.
Apollo probably, yeah. I mean, Apollo probably does that. That's something Bryce put me on. I've never used it before, so I'm starting to test that out to see how that works. But I know there's credits and all that stuff, like there may be costs involved and all that down the line.
Yeah. I got, again, some of it's just time, and then some of it's the money to put in. happy to do a little bit, but I got to focus on Ticket Time Machine.
Absolutely. No, hey, we all, back, it all goes back to, great to help. And that's, but ultimately to be able to help people, you got to make sure you're continuing doing your main gig, Ticket
Yeah,
Time
and
Machine.
that's one thing that motivates me is I've had so much help over the years to get where I am, and regardless of what that is, whether that's my job or, I mean, there's all sorts of things that I'm just really lucky to have been a part of. So I just like to try and help others the way that I've been helped. And I still have a long way to go and could use a lot more help with everything I'm trying to do, whether that's Ticket Time Machine or Open to Work. But I know there's other people who you can tell need help. And one disappointing thing is that I've found is that there's a lot of people who want to help, but there's a lot of people who don't want to help. And even within that group of people who don't want to help, they kind of put it out there as if they want to help, but they don't really want to help. And they kind of forgot where they came from and who helped them to get to where they're at. So I don't ever want to be known as that type of person, and I'm hopefully I'm not, based on some of the stuff that I do to help. But I just think it's important that we need to help others, and they don't have to be less fortunate. There could be a guy who has more than what you have, and but if you can help them, it doesn't always have to help down. Is what I'm trying to say.
No, and you're right. Yeah. I mean, you want to help those that helped you in the past. And the more you do that, the better off we all are, whether it be from a job perspective or just life. I mean, that's how you know you're doing good is when you reach out to somebody that you may have only talked to a handful of times and I say, hey, I need something, can you make an introduction or whatever the case may be? And they're like, absolutely, without hesitation. It's when you think you have a relationship and you reach out and I go, hey, Matt, can you do this? Hey, Matt, how are you? There's no response. Well, there's probably a reason that there's not a response. Maybe, you weren't responsive to them in the past or vice versa. So I said, you talked about the golden rule in one of your posts, I mean, it really does come down to, treat others how you'd want to be treated. And if you do
I
that,
respond to 99% of my messages and emails. I mean, so now it's getting a little bit tougher because I mean, I got 150 emails from my last messages from my last post, and I tried to go through them, but it becomes difficult. But 99, I mean, unless it's like the most ridiculous spam that has literally nothing to do with anything and for no reason for me to do, I'll even just post and say, look, I'm not interested. It's not for me. I don't have employees like that would need this. So I think it just doesn't take a lot of effort to do it. And I realize people are with a lot. I just think it's still relevant. And I post again. I keep sharing my ghosting article, which I think it's a great article. With regards to ghosting, I keep posting. I was like going to rewrite it, but I don't really know what else there is to
that,
say. It's just, we're not talking about, again, someone who's spamming you. You're talking about someone who's been on interviews, someone who you've given a proposal to, someone who you've talked to and had conversation with. And once you've already engaged in that conversation, I think, I don't want to say obligation, but you should. It's common courtesy and human decency to respond in some respect. And the craziest thing for me is like any good salesperson knows that silence is not a no. So you can ignore me, but I'm not going to stop there. So don't you want to stop hearing from me? I know I do. I even there's spam that I'll ignore, and at some point I'm going to respond to them because I'm like, look, it's just gotten annoying for me to just delete your thing because I see it and it might be easier. So it's yeah. Look, we're all just trying to make it in this world. I think these days we're really more on the same team than we are trying to compete against each other. So why not just help? And it's just easy to do. These days it's so easy to do. It's easy to be a good person, I think.
Yeah, and it should be. And it's funny is when you get older, you realize like unless even if we're going for the same job, nowadays you're just happy when somebody gets the job. Like before when I was younger, it'd probably be like, I'm better than that person.
Yeah.
They should have went with me. Now it's like, hey, you know what? That's great for Matt. I'm gonna get the next one. And that's how you have to look at it. Hey, didn't get this one, I'm gonna get the next one.
It's so hard. I mean, the job, if you think about it, getting a job, it's really difficult, right? You got, even if you're just one out of 100, when are you ever one out of 100? That's tough to, that's just really tough to get. I mean, think about like the dating shows. That's like winning The Bachelor
Yeah.
or something like that. It's
Yeah.
tough to do. It's not easy. Or winning, the March Madness. It's very difficult to do. So you just got to keep at it and have the faith that you'll find whatever it is that will be good for you, and or you'll find something that you can make do with because you have to pay bills and you have some responsibilities, and keep looking and working towards some other stuff. But that's just one thing I've always had faith in, that everything's going to be okay. And I've had some real crappy jobs and I've been lucky to have some great jobs. And now I'm happy to and lucky and blessed and to be able to do what I love to do and control my own destiny here.
That's awesome. Well, hey, Matt, I appreciate you taking the hour chatting with me. The great conversation. One of the first things I'm going to do after this is I'm going to join your open to work project and see how I can be part of that. And if I can help in any way, I'm going to do that myself. So I appreciate it. If you need anything from me in the future, let me know. I'll be more than happy to help however I can.
I appreciate that. I'm looking forward to it. Sounds like you've got some good conversations coming up. So I'm looking forward to listening to that.
Matt, you have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye bye.